This episode of the Swirl Suite is sponsored by Sip and Share Wines. Sip and Share Wines is a micro winery that produces a variety of artisanal vegan wines. They recently launched their 7 Words collection, which features a different word for every occasion. With words like gratitude and abundance, you can understand why each glass should be sipped and shared with friends during all of life's celebrations. The owner and friend of the podcast, Nicole Kearney, is passionate about creating experience for wine lovers who are often underrepresented by the industry. Learn more by following Sip and Share Wines on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter today. Cheers! Welcome to the Swirl Suite, everybody. We got everybody in the building today. What's up, everybody?
Hello. What's up? It's like homecoming, but not homecoming.
It's like back to school.
All right. Can we do some quick introductions? We have a lot of new listeners. Let's do some quick introductions really quick. Leslie, we'll start with you.
Hello, everyone. This is Leslie Freelo from Beano 301, All Things Maryland Wine, and I am excited to be with everyone today.
Oh, we're excited to be with you.
Tanisha, who are you?
I'm Tanisha, Girl Meets Glass, and I'm excited too.
Yay. Hey, everybody. I'm Sarita. Buy Me Up. I am happy to have everybody in the building today.
Yes.
Hey, Glennis, do a quick introduction.
Hello, this is Glennis from Vino Noir. I am happy to be with you all this afternoon or this evening, wherever you are in this beautiful world. It's a great time to be here. How is everyone? I can be found on all social media handles, except for Snapchat. I don't do that very well. I'm sitting in my car right now, so this shall be interesting. I'm going to have to roll the window down because I can't have the car on, plus all these other instruments. So, hey, everybody, what's going on?
Hey.
Long time.
Hey.
Hey.
We are here today with a very, very special guest. Please introduce yourself.
I am Cha McCoy from Harlem, now by way of Lisbon, Portugal, and I'm excited to be on the show.
Girl, if you don't extend that introduction out, there's some credentials and some stuff.
What?
Hold on.
Tanisha, I'm on your show, okay? So let me, come on. Don't even go there for me, all right?
Hold on. Just in case you don't know who Cha McCoy is, I'm going to just run down just a few of her little write-ups, just little ones, okay?
Right.
So we're going to start. We're going to start with foodandwine.com. Cha McCoy is Harlem sommelier you actually want to drink with. Then you got Food and Wine again, creating community through wine, Cha McCoy. Then you got Cha McCoy hosts New York City's vibiest wine tasting. I mean, I can go on and on.
Not to the latest and greatest.
Okay.
So you should not be shy on this show right now. Like
I'm not all right. I'm not shy.
Do whatever you need to do, but this is the time where you snap your fingers and light a match and say, I am the shit right now.
You know what? I'm that stay humble person, so I'm totally here for, like, yes, I'm all of those things, but I'm here to kick it like anybody else, so I'm ready to jump in. I'm all those things. I'm happy that people get this vibe from me, and truly the authenticity of talking to me or being with me or even drinking with me, it's the same idea. So to be honest, whether it's currently being listed as 40 under 40 with Wine Enthusiasts or being featured in, magazines in the past, it's all about me just being that chick from Harlem who's willing to take an adventure, and that adventure is mine, wherever that is in the world. So that's me.
Outstanding.
I love that. And so can you back
Are you
up a
from
little?
New York originally? I'm sorry.
from Harlem, yep.
Oh, outstanding. Okay.
So can we back up to the beginning of your adventure with wine? Like what was your introduction to wine?
So I would say two things. I guess my first like me just drinking wine period comes more with from like being in college and not liking beer. So whatever wine option it was, I was down with. So that's box wine, Franzia, or whatever the hell was on the table. I'm like, I just need anything but Keystone Light, you know? And then let's say fast forward, I eventually started getting into wine, if you want to say professionally, and started geeking out about wine when I lived in Italy. I moved there in 2010. And so I make sure I tell a difference because I think people think that's my first time drinking wine is when I moved to Italy. So I like making people make sure they understand that I definitely was a consumer before then, but I really didn't know what I was drinking and nor did I care. It was just like, don't give me beer. So what's the ultimate? So yeah. And I think that's how
girls after my heart.
Yeah, that's what most people, I think, whether it's age or sex, you know, females, you know, wine is always targeted towards us and beer for men. So at least back then, of course, now they're doing a lot more marketing, cross marketing. But yeah, that's the introduction. I worked at a wine shop when I moved back to Harlem after returning back to the States from living in Italy. And from there, I got a little bit more serious with my diving into professionally, right? I'm working in a wine shop. I was the only one who at least was speaking Italian at the time in the store. And then I also was the one who was kind of like the knowledgeable in Italian wines, but nothing else. So I guess I stood out in this kind of weird way too. Here's this girl who looks like me from down the block, but she speaks Italian. She don't know nothing about no other wines. It's like I'm confused. She doesn't know shit about Napa. I'm lost, like, you know. So it was kind of like a weird place to be in. And like, you know, I'm grateful for my mentor, who is the GM of the store, who was like, okay, let me give you some, like, you know, interesting like websites to look up, because if you're gonna work here, you got to sell other wine besides the Italian section. And so I guess the journey officially started there.
So was so did you go to Italy initially because of wine, or was there another reason why you moved to Italy?
Yep, I moved to Italy, or I should say no, I moved to Italy to actually do my MBA. I'm an engineer by I've been, as of this year, this is like the first official year I've left engineering to try to pursue wine or anything else outside of related to engineering. So for the last 13 years, I've been doing engineering.
Oh, okay. Outstanding.
Wow. So that's a big leap. What did your friends and your family think of your transition to wine full time?
I am one of those people, so it's a little bit different. I come from the cloth of those people. Like my father is that guy. So where like, if I remember vividly being in class and it's like, I guess we must have been like doing a report on what our parents do or something like this. But like my mom had a state job. And so I was like, okay, she's like boring, you know, so I'm not talking about her. So I just had to talk about what my father do, right? And I'm like, oh, my father is a movie director and he's a chef. He owns this restaurant and he did, and people like, you are lying. Like, there's no way your father did or do these things. Like, oh, and he's a car salesman. And it was like, what? Like, you know, thinking like I'm just like this little kid ranting off like fake shit, you know? So I'm like, no, he actually, like, I guess it was very odd to think that you couldn't be all these things. So in this case, I was very much like, yeah, no, he actually do these things. Like, you know, like, come to my house. Like, you know, like, so it was very weird, like, to, and it was a point of like proving people like, yeah, he actually know how to cook, come for dinner. Oh, let me show you his car dealership. Like, this is, you know. So I remember being in this place where it's like my father's known as this like multifaceted person, you know. And so I think the idea of following in his footsteps or some like it with this kind of like, oh, none of it seems like it connects, but to him it did, you know. Same thing for myself. In my case, maybe it's a little bit more easier to kind of like put two and two together. I come from, or I should say most of my career in engineering was in the retail luxury space. So now that I'm in wine, which is considered a luxury for retail, That goes side by side. You know, before it was fashion, so now it's beverage. Also, now that I'm out here with wineries, especially in Portugal, this is the most I've ever met of winemakers with engineering degrees ever. Portugal, for some odd reason.
Wow.
Everybody is an engineer, was an engineer, still do engineering on the side. And, you know, maybe we'll get into that later, but, you know, in Portugal, because of the economy, the dictatorship, all this stuff, a lot of people, and if you've been to Cuba as well, you know, people can be doctors but drive a cab, you know. So
Wow.
if someone here, you know, that's the case in Cuba for sure. Here, because of the economy and how it was during the dictatorship, a lot of people either transition from being engineers to like working on a father's farm, which means grape farm, which then turned into them making their own wine label in the future, and now they're known as a winemaker. So they have this like engineering background. So I kind of blend in with all the engineers here. It's funny because even here, once you like graduate from college up to a certain level, you're either an engineer or a doctor. They don't even consider any other type of profession. They just say, oh, the doctor of art, the doctor of, you know, is not always science. And then the only other title, if you're not that, is someone who's an engineer. So, so to be honest, I'm kind of like, now I'm blending in with all the other winemakers who are engineers here. And some of them are not engineers by like connecting to agricultural. It's also engineers from tech fields or et cetera. Now they're working in wine. So here I'm at home.
Wow.
Nice.
It's not surprising though. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Well, it's not surprising because wine is very technical. I mean, there's an art to it. There's definitely an art to it, but the art or the science of making wine is very technical. Yep. So to have people with that background, it's not surprising at all.
Yeah, I mean, but I get this question a lot of like, wow, engineering and wine, that's like two different fields, you know, like I guess the idea of like trying to get people to like understand, maybe because they also never studied as an engineer, that the amount of chemistry classes that you have to take.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're literally putting formulas together, figuring out what's the, you know, proper bricks level to start your harvest at, to replicate, if you want to, you know, do consistency with wines from last year, what was that? Taking samples from different barrels. The same idea happens in math, and you know, and I'm talking about beyond algebra, you know. So we're talking about higher level maths when we're doing theory-based math and engineering, as well as high level sciences, right? So it ends up being the same for sure.
That's also interesting from a standpoint of Portugal sometimes being considered a little more new world, and for people to be engineers and doing things in that way in Portugal, but then yet here in France, it's more of a old school, old world. These vineyards and winemakers, it's been in their family for generations, and so they don't have these backgrounds. They're just farmers. Not like
I never thought about that. I would totally agree in the sense that a lot of the winemakers are young. Yeah. And I mean young meaning like 50 is like old, you know, compared. So like most of the people is like from like compared to me walking around France and someone's like, and this is my father, the winemaker before me, and then his father was the winemaker before him.
It's generational.
This is very, let's say all of the winemakers I know, they father may have owned the land but most of them, they actually bought it. Like, so, so they're not actually getting the inheritance. And again, back to the dictatorship and back to like people not owning land and things being broken apart and underneath Salazar. So this like idea of who owns what land for generations don't really come to play as much. Some people do, and of course they do have this large legacy and big brands, but for the most part, it's usually either large corporations who have the big names and the legacy, or those, you know, small few who are out there. But most of the ones that I'm connected to is people who are like, they're making a name for themselves today, you know, it's not from the generations before. And even like, if you want to talk about even port wine, that's why it's like Taylor Port, Grams. These are not obviously Portuguese names because the Portuguese people were the farm workers and the people who own the farms, like the actual grapes. The people who were making the port and making the money is the British, who were owning the wineries and actually buying the grapes from the farm workers. So the names is not their name is not on the actual names of most of the ports. Today, the ones that we know, of course, there's Quinta de Infantado, which is one of my favorites that's out there. I would say that it's sold in America, that I see often. But I don't see too many outside of him, I should say, in New York City. And that's a family that owns the grape and owns the winery. And so therefore they're able to produce underneath their own name, bottles for the port.
That's very interesting how that works and how they use a newer approach. And I think that's why their wines are at a better price point. And why people keep saying that different regions throughout Portugal are like the region to watch, and Portugal is a place to watch and to go to for good value wine and also delicious wine.
It was not by choice. Like, no, they did not choose a dictator, right? So they
not the dictator part. I'm talking
but that's what's affecting the price. That's what's affecting how come they don't have legacy of people who are owning it, That's why it's easy to be considered, I guess, in this way, closer to New World versus being considered part of the old world, when you talk about wines, history, etc. But they've been making and I guess they were also, and I got to make sure I say this because some Portuguese person is definitely going to kill me, allowing you to get away calling them anything close to new, because they are the first demarcated wine region in the world. So they're also the first wine country to ever have a demarcated region. So before France, before Italy, before anywhere else. So in their mind, to consider them New World when they're the first is also like, they're not really prideful of being considered to be called new. They are very prideful for what their history in the Douro Valley, and they really want to make sure that's stated. So I'm like, this is my disclaimer before they come for me tomorrow. Like, you let her get away from calling us New World. I can see it now. I'm like, oh. Let's stop it before everybody start repeating this. Cha said it on the Swirl Suite.
So Cha, can you tell us how you even got to Portugal with your history in Italy? What made you move to Portugal instead of going back to Italy?
I would say I try to there's also this personal factor. So let's just touch on top 3 things for that. I was looking for a place that just was full of sun. I wanted my tan to be my full-time color. So, I was like, I don't want to get whatever this other December, January shade is of me. I want the tan all year round, right? So I was like, I need to go where I can get some sun. So quality of life was a big deal for me. Being able to have access to the beach. I was just telling Tanisha the other day, though, I do not spend the time that I need to out there to check in or check out. But just being able to have access, okay, I'm jumping on the metro and I'll be there in 30 minutes, to the beach that I prefer. There's options, so being closer to the beach, cheaper cost of living. If I'm quitting my job, then the idea is okay, if I live in New York City, I would have to hustle to survive in New York City. So then I can hustle in let's say a more affordable country or city. So it makes sense to just leave and go somewhere else. I got to start fresh anyway. I can't afford this apartment in New York anymore. So in this case, I had to do everything I had to do, but it's just kind of instead of moving into New York City with 4 roommates, let me move completely out to another place. So these are the things I would say, safety and all this other stuff that everybody can Google on about why, 10 top reasons to move to Portugal. All those other things are the same for me too. But that was on my personal, I'm ready to go. This is the things that were high for me. Then on the professional side, I only was looking at countries that were winemaking regions. So Italy was also on the list to return to. One of my really good friends who lived there, she's been my anchor there. I've been going back every year basically, and sometimes twice a year to Italy. and she moved to Berlin last year. And so it was kind of, I was like, oh, well, maybe I don't need to move to Italy. And so I was like on a quest to like, where was the other places I really was interested in? And Portugal was on the list for the other reasons. And so was South Africa. And then the reason why Portugal beat out South Africa was because I wanted to be able to like, you know, snap and get to New York if I needed to. The flight is about 6 hours. And I wanted my mom to be able to come. Me and my brother both live away from my mom. So she's in New York and my brother's in DC. So I wanted to be able to be, let's say, close enough. It's funny because they're like, how you keep thinking it's close? I'm like, because I could have been in South Africa, you know? So when my mind is like, girl, this is around the corner, you know? So yeah, so this was how I kind of, that's like a quick answer to like give you the formula, but you know, that was that. And in English, I didn't mention this, but after I came for the first time and I realized how prominent English was.
Oh, is it? I had no idea.
Yes, I don't know if you heard, my TV's in English the entire time. Like I'm like trying to find something in Portuguese on my TV. I'm like, where's a Portuguese show, please? I gotta learn the language. Like, so yeah, English is, I guess someone told me this who visited before, but it was one of those things I was like, I lived in Italy. I will not say, like if you was on 10 blocks in Rome, yeah, you'd be like, oh yeah, they speak English here. So I was like, I don't know where she stayed and stuff. So I think I need to come out here for myself. And it really is everywhere. I'm like, okay, I left Lisbon, went to a new city. They were speaking, you know, English in this new city. I went out to, you know, out in Douro River Valley, and I'm talking to farmers in English. This ain't never happened in Italy. Like people are like, no winemaker, why would he even speak English, you know? So, you know, younger ones do, but the older ones, they're like, nah, I'm good. This is what I got, you know? So here, there's a large chance that the person is speaking English and at least someone part of their team can speak English to you. So I was like, okay, so that's going to be good for business. So that was the, if you want to say, the cherry on top for me.
Wow.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
So, okay, so let's ask this question. So as a woman of color, how are you treated in Portugal itself, outside of the wine industry and within the wine industry?
Okay, I would say, so also, it gets back to it always go back to politics, right, with race. So,
Exactly.
because there's a large, well, let's go back to 1975. Everyone in Portugal is very big on their dates. April 24th, 1975. I know more shit about their history than mine now. It's crazy because here they're so like prideful of their history. You could be in an Uber and learn like what you could have learned in a textbook. Like I was like, bro, now I know the entire reason why some like, you know, the Battle of 88 happened. So like, you know, like I'm like, what the hell? Like all you gotta do is like walk around and talk to everybody. Everyone's like ready to break down any kind of like big moment, political moment here. And with also being said here, a lot of things are named after the dates. So the bridge that looks like the San Francisco Bridge and the Golden Gate Bridge here in Lisbon, it's called the April 24th Bridge. So they don't let you forget. You're gonna know these dates, you know? So April 24th, 1975 is when the revolution happened. And that's when the people overthrew the government. And that's when the colonies basically were no longer colonies. They, you know, now they became their own countries. So I don't know if you know much about Portugal, but in Africa, or besides them being explorers and actually like, you know, conquering or exploring into these new territories, that's what they're known as. So they look at the country, from what I understand, is Portugal is not just a country we call it. A lot of them, let's say generations older than us, they look at as Portugal is also Angola, Mozambique, Sao Tome,
Exactly.
Brazil, you know, loosely, because Brazil was kind of broken, not kind of, it was separated before 1975.
Right.
You know, so Mozambique, Cape Verde, and let's just stick with Africa right now because we're talking about me and being a Black woman. So, so with that being said, it's very much part of their idea that these people are also Portuguese, anybody who live in those countries. They don't look at them as like, oh, those Africans. They look at them as like, these are Portuguese people. Everybody else could be Africa, you know, that's next to them, but these are Portuguese people, and those places are Portugal. So the mindset of you being brown here is not from a color, is which country are you from? Because they are trying to identify, are you Cape Verdean? Now, does that mean they love Cape Verdeans? No, they may hate them, but the idea is hating you not because you're brown, hating you because you're Cape Verdean, you know? So, or maybe someone doesn't like Brazilians. Oh, okay, are you Brazilian? Okay, good. That's all they care about. Like, you know, they don't really, I'm saying I haven't personally got the effect of like someone treating me differently, let's say, or in an ill way because of this. It's more of people actually accepting me because I'm very familiar to them, because a lot of the colonies before 1975, a lot of the Portuguese people were forced during Salazar time to actually move down into the colonies to be a part of the army. So they're also, even the white Portuguese people are very much used to the fact of living in all Black neighborhoods because they lived in Africa. A lot of friends that I know that's my age here, they or maybe their parents were born in Africa. So they are white Portuguese who were born in Africa because their parents, meaning their grandparents, were sent to be a part of the army there or to do some work in Angola. And so while they were there, they obviously ended up marrying another Portuguese woman. They created a Portuguese baby. He's in Angola, but he's a white man, you know. So this is not like so. And then in 1975, also because the colonies were now separated as a separate country, they're no longer considered Portugal. The reverse happened. All the people who were Portuguese who were born there were kicked out. So then the Portuguese had to come back to Portugal. So then now they're like, oh, I went to school in Angola. Everybody I know is Angola, but now I'm in Lisbon. Like, you know, so now there's a bunch of people here who are used to, like, you know, if you want to say dating Black women, you know, or whatever, you know, being next door neighbors to Black people and families, because it's very much part of their culture, either because someone in their family was raised down there and then they came back, or because the people from the colonized countries now live here. So this is also a part of it. So I guess I had to give you this context because unlike Italy, this is not the case. So, and I don't think unlike France, this is the case. So this kind of like mixture in Africa, like I don't know anything about French people going down and living in Senegal, you know, like, you know, I'm sure some of them do today or may have, but a large percentage of the Portuguese people, especially because Portugal is already so small, were expats, you know, living down in colonies. So it's not like, oh, I live amongst Black people or see me walking in the street. Compared to like some small towns when I was in Italy, they were looking at me like I was like, you know, like something off of TV. They were like, oh,
where'd you come from?
Yeah, like
That's
not like an alien, but very like confused on what are you doing here? You know, like, you know,
here.
You're not from here. And I don't get that living in Portugal because everybody they know, they obviously assume I actually speak Portuguese because I'm brown skinned. The last thing they think is that I speak English because usually in the colonies, they're not teaching English. So they're thinking like, well, how do you know English? You know, like you're from where, you know, somewhere in Africa. And I'm like, no, I'm actually from New York, you know, and it's like this like weird exchange. Like, so you're not from Angola at all? I'm like, no, like I'm sure. they don't understand.
That transcends into the wine industry as well, that same comfortability, I guess, with people of color in wine as well, or no?
I would say it's about like, so like the men that I see who are here, I've never met a woman who's Black that's from, you know, like that's not an expat like me. But I have met a few guys who are from one of the colonies who, or at least they're culturally are. And I would say it seemed like, you know, they have a job like everybody else in the wine industry, but I could say from my own perspective, like people want to help me like get in, but I think it's more because they know they've met me, they like me, and they hear my drive and my passion. I think it's not the color idea. I think it's more about, hey, we like her, she seems cool. Let's let's give her this connection to this one thing, or let's let her come in here and whatever, like vibe out. It's the color of my skin is not what I feel, let's just say, that's stopping me from getting places. I mean, I do feel like there's things that I'm going through that I'm like, oh, okay, that wasn't cute, where shade is thrown or whatever. But I don't get that that's because I'm Black. And actually, some of those people actually is not, I don't even think they're Portuguese. Most of the people I'm talking about is people I've met that are here that may be French or from other countries that's working in the industry. So it's just people that's in wine who also work here, or have been here, work in the restaurant industry, etc. That is just like, being jerks, because no matter what race you are, what country you're from, if you're a jerk, you're a jerk, So they just, that's what it is,
And there are plenty of those in the wine industry.
Oh,
For sure. Like,
yeah.
we don't have, we don't even got to add race to that. If you're a jerk,
Right.
Nobody cares what I look like,
So what are you actually doing in Portugal? You're working at a vineyard, or you working at a restaurant or wine bar? Like,
so then my company, Cha McCoy Hospitality and Consulting, is the idea of, right now I'm at a phase of how do I boost my brand locally, so we can create community here. So it's always great to be able to like come back to New York and sell out an event, but it's more about like, okay, but I'm in both spaces. So doing all the footwork of going to the prominent events, how you say, rubbing elbows with the people that I need to here, building that network, So that's going to take time. I just got here in June officially. So, and this is September. So to be able to continue to shake hands, et cetera. And I've started coming here as of like October last year. So I know it's a process, and Portugal is definitely is still Southern Europe. So you still got to come here, shake hands 5 times, kiss all the babies before anybody like say, okay, we're for you, let's sign a contract. So, we're working with you. So this is very much their mentality. I appreciate that. I mean, that's the reason why, wine is part of their lifestyle here too, is because they're very personal. They want to like personally like you before they want to pay you for anything, no matter how great you are. Nothing over, like everything over email is like, okay, that's cute, but when do we see you? I'm like, girl, I don't need to see you. We just said, okay, but that's the kind of place there. So network building, to be able to continue my consulting with now wineries directly is who I want to work with. And I realized being home in New York and doing that was going to be harder unless I was doing, work with people just in the States. And that means various things, brand design and strategy, wine tourism, helping them, export management. These are services I realized that they need the most help with. So this is what I'm talked with people and been in conversations with over the past, I guess, going on a year now, come October. And wine tourism for consumers and events for consumers as well. So this is the same like when I was in the States, but here, because I'm in a tourist location for Americans, it's kind of how do I monetize that? So right now I'm doing wine tastings in Lisbon, in the city center, getting people to get like almost like okay, you just arrived. What are you going to drink now that you're here? And because I'm in Lisbon and not in Douro, I try to stay away from doing ports, only because people normally, if they're going to go up to Porto, they're definitely going to visit the wine cellars there. So I try to stay away from ports and try to get people to know kind of Portugal outside of the fortified wines. So to do the tastings, and that's also including vineyard tours, and I got tastings on yachts, all types of stuff going on. So it's all about what people are willing to spend and what experiences I can give them. So now I'm here to kind of like it was to a point where even at home, people would see that on Instagram. I was in Portugal and they're like, oh, Cha, I just found you on social media and I want to do a tasting with you. And I'm like flying back to New York that same week. I'm like, so it's good to like be here to kind of catch these kind of tourists who are in for a couple of days, et cetera, to kind of get them to know me and kind of help them out with their wine journey while they're here, as well as being able to curate something larger for hopefully 2020. I'm claiming it, a larger, group trip to bring people here for a harvest.
I have a question about, like, in the United States, we are open to importing a lot of wine from different countries. But in Europe, it tends to be, you're very hard pressed to find New World wines or wines that are not from that region. Is that the same in Portugal?
1000%. It's kind of crazy because I was like, wait, should I just start bringing like American wine here? Like, I was like, is this an actual opportunity? But culturally they wouldn't do it. So it's not like, you gotta push a real ship if you really want somebody to buy American wine, wine people may come out and support and like, ooh, I've never had this, but it's like to be able to hold up a whole business, trying to change a culture, it's a whole nother ball game. And I think that's the reason why it's like, in my mind, as my business strategy is like, okay, working with wineries, I'm working with Portuguese people. And so that's my B2B business, is working with Portuguese people on a business level. But business to consumer, not that it's not for Portuguese people, it's just that that's not my target market, because they are, let's say, like, it's very hard to get people to understand what I'm doing, because culturally they're already wine drinkers, so they'd be probably like they would care less about doing a wine tasting and paying for one, versus someone else who's like, I'm here for an experience. I want to learn about Portuguese wine while I'm here for this 1 week. So, so that's like two different mindsets. Working with them, B2B is one way, but it's different than me trying to sell to a consumer. And I'm trying to say they don't exist. They are here. And they seem very interested. But then we start talking about price points, and the Portuguese people, the average salary is 600 euros a month for like, and yes, you heard that right, 600 euros a month. So to try to give an event on the same scale is one of my challenges right now. Like, how can because I do want to give, as I was recently quoted in BuzzFeed. Are you happy, Tanisha? I'm dropping, I'm here to be the sommelier for the people. And I'm not saying just Black people or women. I'm saying for the people who want to drink wine and want to learn about wine and don't want any kind of like, stigma or elitist idea stopping them from like having that wine they can't pronounce, etc. So in this case for Portuguese, it's the other way around. Like, okay, how do I get introduced, maybe like what you're saying, Leslie, like to new varietals or other countries, and maybe it takes someone other, meaning someone outside of Portugal, to be like, hey, no, this wine is cool and it's from Italy. Trust me, it's good. Or trust me, I got this Chilean wine. Don't freak out, and having them be exposed, like to be that vehicle for them to kind of like actually think about New World wine in a different way. So that's part of, this is also an opportunity for me to like engage with them on that level. Because I think if I did let's say all American flight or all New World wines, one, how to get them would be one issue, right? And that's what you're asking about. And I would say, of course, do they not carry them here? But it's probably more about, yes, they do, but it's on the higher level,
Yeah.
It's not going to be like the more affordable American or South American wines. To be honest, for the first time, and I've traveled to Brazil several times, I've just had Brazilian wine that wasn't sparkling for the first time, like since I've been here. And that's only because of the ties between Brazilians coming here and, in Portugal. So someone who's Brazilian who brings back Portuguese wine, I was at a place with other wine friends where he brought wines from Brazil up here for them to taste. So, that was just an interesting dynamic, but maybe that's the way, like, okay, they're open to drinking Brazilian wine. Okay, so how do we bring in other wines from Chile, from Argentina, and then now start talking about California or Australia, et cetera. But yeah, this is not wine people I'm talking about the average consumer, you know, wine people who drink, you know, whatever you bring, you know, so
That's true.
I would say that someone I know who just opened up a wine shop, she actually sells no Portuguese wine. So that, to also respond to your question, is brand new. So I'm wishing her luck. And, you know, all her wines are, the store's called Rebel Rebel. Shout out to Jen, she's from New York. So I think that it's more about like natural wines, right? Period. So in her case with the natural wines, it's more about how you get people to learn about natural wine. You know, Portuguese people, since they're not used to drinking natural wines or hearing things be called natural, you know, the idea of the consumer is like, okay, well, how do you get them more exposed to it? So to actually she can have wines from anywhere, because at the end of the day, they're not going to be familiar with the taste, you know. So if they into natural wines, they just want to know about natural wine, right? So,
right.
So it's already a specialty store in itself. So if most of her portfolio is, or since all of her portfolio is outside of Portugal, then, you know, in this case, she has the opportunity to expose them to Austrian wine, French wines, and, you know, that they wouldn't have on their menu when they go to the restaurant. So, so I hope I answered the question in a way, but yes, obviously in her case, someone's doing it. But in another case, I still haven't seen like a restaurant menu that have other wines that's not like the top end French wine or the top end, you know, American Napa Valley wines on the list. So that's what I see.
Wow. So I have a question about like the food in Portugal. Is Portugal as obsessed with wine pairing as the rest of the world is?
Oh, you think the rest of the world is obsessed with wine pairings? This is great. Oh my God. Like, wine pairings bring me joy. I thought you were gonna say like Italy. I mean, Italy is like the king of wine pairings, right? This is, every wine they make is for food. Like, this is like, they don't care that you think the wine is bold because you don't have the right food, you know? Like, so in my mind, it's not like, you know, so I get excited because wine pairings is why I love wine. So that's why I'm like, oh, wait, the world is also crazy about this. I don't think so, though. But I would say I don't think that's their purpose for liking wine, you know, like how I feel about Italy. But I also think that's why Italy is so special. You know, all their wines don't go with everything and don't go for a summer day. Well, because you don't have what you're supposed to have in front of you, you know? Like, okay, you have the wrong cheese. What else can I say? You know, like, I mean, they're very like, unapologetic about their approach with wine, with Italian reds, especially. And I feel like that's a very special way of treating your wine. Like, you need food. That's it, period. Next, you know. So here, I feel like their wines is very, they're used, their palate, let's say Portuguese people, average Portuguese person palate is actually sweeter and high alcohol, which sounds very familiar. Because when a community wants, when the Black community wants like high alcohol and sweet wines, people are like, oh, that's so like, you know, hood or ghetto of you. But low key, I think that's what most of the people want. It's not just Black people. It's not just, you know, I don't know, people from the hood, you know. So I digress. But I mean, clearly a place that's basically most of their money in the wine industry comes from port, which is at 18%. And making rubies, you know, what else could you say? But yeah, no, I would say that pairings, yes, in a very formal hospitality restaurant way, but the average, let's say, waiter, server, I'm not gonna even go and stretch and say sommelier, they are, whatever you order, they just kind of saying, hey, I like this wine, you should drink this wine. That's it. They're not really going into, well, the perfect pairing for this is, it's just very much, you got fish, you should get this. It's from Vino Verde, you know, and that's kind of it. And even the winemakers who are making wine here, like, that are my friends, are like, this is part of the frustration. And they're out here pushing out all this great wine, and then they put them in the restaurants, but the people who are there like, I like that other one, so this is the one I sell the most. You know, they don't really, they're not really going into this. And because when people come to Portugal, I mean, some people are going to the Michelin star restaurants, you know, they come for that experience too. But the average person is getting like the traditional tascas and tabernas, which, you know, that this is a certain word used for traditional small restaurants here. They're not giving you wine pairings, you know. So there are some more modern ones that, you know, go into that I love and that I go to. But people come for a lower price point, and the wine's not trying to say, I'm talking about for the food and for the experience. And so this is the wine itself, going through pairings, et cetera. It's like, oh yeah, I remember this place. They were actually looking for sommelier, right? I'm like, okay, great. I'm gonna come in and get a job. It's gonna be great. It's right in the heart of the area where everyone's a tourist. So I'm like, okay, so should be easy. I can speak English and don't need to even, I could like fake my Portuguese, like for the ones who do come in and don't speak English, and that should be enough. One of my colleagues will help me. But it's funny because actually during the interview, the person was like, yeah, like all this stuff you got going on is great, but you know, we just need people to like, this is like pour the wine. I was like, oh, okay. And they were like, yeah, so we can't even like match what you like, what you got going on this portfolio and all of this, you know. They're like, we're just gonna be honest. And I guess because she also said there was a sommelier before me who also they hired, brought in, and she basically felt like, nah, this is not challenging enough. I'm not talking about the wine. You know, it's just like fast service and et cetera. So this place is kind of like, you know, not like this small traditional. It's a really nice wine bar that do have a good restaurant. And so in my case, I'm thinking like, oh, okay, this is a good place to be because there's enough tourists to speak English and I could get away with working here on the side, you know, and it's no bueno, let's just say. Like they're like, we don't need you to be here pairing shit. We just need you to stay. Come on, you need girlfriend, and and let that be the one we think is the most expensive with the highest return, you know, kind of thing. Not the most expensive, but the highest return for us. So yeah, so that's an insider's perspective as well, because I went on an interview. It's not me just like, oh, as a consumer, this is what I feel. Because of course I eat out, but yeah. So I thought it was like sad because I'm like, you're a wine bar. Like, I'm like, it's not like a regular restaurant. You're like, oh yeah, just make sure you sell wine. We don't care. This is a wine bar. You don't care about like pairing with your food. Like, oh, like I'm about to like not.
You know, so. It's funny because they had SomCom in DC.
Yes.
And they started doing more business focused seminars in addition to like the traditional tastings and the history and da-da-da-da-da. And the message from that panel was your job as the som is to sell wine. So it's interesting, and not and when you have your staff or what have you, that they're not going to remember always when they are serving wine, you know, the terroir and, you know, what slope and this and that, that they just need basic information to sell wine. And it is not always about the pairing. So it's interesting to hear that perspective from the other side of the Atlantic.
Yeah, I mean, especially because I think people think, oh, you're in Europe, you must be getting like a bubble, like all of this. And it's, I mean, Tanisha can, I guess, speak for France and see, you know, if she see an average restaurant, are they doing that? But I would, of course, I've been to Michelin star restaurants, and of course, the som comes, you know, her name, she's telling you, and we did a full, like, I went to Loco. Loco's, they just got their Michelin star, and so it's super organized. It's like a orchestra. Like someone weaves in, give you a course, she weaves in, brings the wine. It's like like they're like figure skating around each other. It's beautiful. You're like, shit, this is why I'm in this business. You know, like it's like you're just like excited. Like, yes, continue. Yeah, Emilia. Like I can't even forget her name that I was there. I don't know, like 3 weeks ago. Because it's great. Like Emilia was the shit. And I swear, when someone's doing a job, my dog wants to be invited. Oh, okay. When someone's doing a job, it's done well. And when it's with the food and it's going, you know, And I think that's another reason why, I'll post this as well on like Instagram tomorrow, because, another reason why I even mentioned about being like the psalm for the people or people sommelier is because, there is this like point of where we think, oh, our food is not our food, whatever your food may be. I don't care if you're Indian, West Indian, wherever you're from, New Orleans. If you think your food does not deserve a wine pairing, you don't do it. It's about that. And so sometimes sometimes it's us, where we like, oh yeah, I'm just having fried chicken. So I don't really, I don't need all that. I just ordered the wings, And so I'm the one like, no, but do you know what would be great with those wings?
Yes, indeed.
Like, why do we need her giving us these like deep thoughts about, I'm like, okay, all right. I just wanted to like, let's like, if we're going to do it, if we're going to get wine, let's do it right, So I become this person, and I'm always thinking about wine pairing. Clearly, I'm like still talking about wine pairing, but because I feel like everything deserves a proper pairing, because I think there's a grape for everything. I think there's a wine for every occasion, and so for me, it's like all about mood and food. When you're looking about pairing. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, so this part of our show, we ask you just some random questions about you. And we call them random and not so rapid. And the first question is, what is your favorite wine pairing?
Oh, look at that. Well, it's so funny. It's because, all right, this is like a definition of me. My favorite wine pairing I've ever had is dollar pizza and a 1996 Barolo. Because you just like, because there's something about dollar New York pizza that's like, it just it's like I started from the bottom, but now I'm here. That 1996 Barolo color. It's like, I made it, like this is what I've achieved in life. Like, so is that like, like they say in fashion, you got to do the high and low, that thrift shopping, but still put on your Gucci. Like for me, it's like this. So, yeah, this is like how I roll. Like you can definitely find me on Instagram or in the past on Instagram posting things like this all the time, because I don't think you need to wait for some like special moment all the time to save every damn bottle of wine. And, we won't live on forever. And I think that it's about even crafting a lifestyle for yourself where you cherish it every day. And so therefore that means open that wine, girl. It's okay.
I love it. Love it. If you could invite anyone right now to hang with you in Portugal, who would it be?
Wine enthusiast asked me, who would I want to drink with? And I don't know if you've seen that video, because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to invite Harriet Tubman.
Okay.
Harriet Tubman.
You had to double down on the blackness. Yeah.
I was like, I'm just going to be real black.
I don't know if you drink or not, but I want to drink with her.
Yeah, I'm just going to have Harriet kick it with me real quick, So I thought it was. And
there's a Netflix special about Harriet Tubman.
Is it?
Yes, there is. And she comes from Portugal. Salisbury, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
Come on.
Harriet getting shout outs.
You and Harriet on Netflix.
Okay. I hope I get it in Portugal. We get some like, all European versions out here. We don't get it all. But I'll definitely make sure I look it up. But I just thought like that's where he's gonna go. I'm like, okay, now I gotta come up with somebody else besides Harriet, since I'm bringing her everywhere with me. But yes, okay. So you said, who would I want to be with me in Portugal? Is it like just for a kick it kind of situation?
Just to kick it for a weekend.
For a weekend. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
You drink with them, eat with them, show them around, and then they go home.
Who paid?
Okay. Well, can I get two people?
Okay, go ahead with the two people.
I'm sorry. She was like,
paying.
Oh gosh.
She was like, who's making this difficult? It ain't me. Trust me. Okay. So I would really, all right. So my father was someone, so he didn't come visit me when I was living in Italy. So for me, I'm like, if he can come for a weekend, that would be priceless if he came to Portugal. So definitely need to say my dad. And for me, I would also say, like, on a celebrity level, I'm gonna go with Oprah because she's my new Harriet. You know, she's my current, like, my Harriet Tubman of today. You know? So for me, I'm like, you know what? Oh, don't even post anything. We just want to keep it light.
I like,
you know. We just don't want to here. We just gonna have this wine though. It's gonna be dope. You know, I'm gonna drop some of these like business ideas on you. I just want you to vet them out real quick. You know, I don't even need your money. Just want you to like, do you think this is work? You know, I just need your head nod. You know, and yeah, like I would love to know what Oprah's favorite like wine is and like, things like that. So just like having a weekend with her to like kind of see what she normally drinks. You know, someone with a bank account that can afford the 1996 Barolo every day. Like what would you think? You know? So yeah, I would say my girl Auntie O.
Speaking of bank accounts, you know, I was watching Ellen. This had to be like maybe last year sometime. But Ellen asked Oprah, when was the last time she went to a bank? And she
yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, and she couldn't remember. And neither could Ellen, really. Neither one of them could go to the bank.
Right.
They got people for that. What?
Yeah.
Well,
and why do they need cash? What do they need cash
Right. True. I mean, she may need some cash walking around Portugal because they don't do cards everywhere, but you know, somebody, one of her people may have it or something like that, you know, so she could be.
Yeah, she good for it. It's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, Oprah will be my girl.
Got it. Okay, next question. What is your favorite scent?
Super easy because it's kind of like now I got to get rid of it. Lavender.
Yeah.
It's like a go-to. My brother said, "Why all girls love lavender?" I'm like, I don't know, bro. Like I don't know. Like just like I go to my girlfriend's houses everywhere. I come to your house, we burning lavender. So I'm like, okay, all right.
It's soothing.
For me, it's super like you know. I always got my oils on me, so you know, lavender is my go-to. What I do not forget to pack, traveling, because you know you're on a plane, you're trying to relax. You know, you're in a new apartment, your new country, so trying to like get a familiar smell going. Trying to bring your smell, and I feel like lavender is like easily accessible everywhere, so it's kind of good too. Like if I don't have none, I can find it where I'm at too. So that's important for me. Like, oh, okay. I mean, I have a dog who obviously operates on scents too. So he's like, oh, it's lavender in here. It smells like home, you know? So,
you know what else is nice about lavender? How you still recognize it and it's not super strong. So when you go to wine tasting and stuff, it doesn't overpower everybody else's around you. For sure. It seems super cliche because my brother said that now. I'm like, oh, do all girls like it? But I love patchouli. I mean, I'm into other things. You know? But yeah, lavender is like my go-to. Okay. Who is your favorite music icon from New York? And this person can be deceased or alive. Oh, P. Diddy all day. Okay. You know,
oh my goodness.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Diddy. I can't even go there because no, yes. Well, listen here, okay?
You feel attacked, child. She's like, wait, what?
I don't have to think twice because it's like whenever, you know, when I think of like, well, I didn't realize, I already said his name before you said dead or alive, but in my mind it was like, okay, Diddy would be the person I would pick if you didn't say that. So, but yeah, I would definitely just go with Diddy. I can't even, for who he is and all this other stuff, you know, it's kind of like when you're like, oh, I still love Kanye, but I can't love him publicly, you know. Diddy's one of those people who I feel like, okay, he has this evolution going on, so personally people like feel some way, but you know, I think this pride of like being where we from, never forgetting that, always feeling like, you know, like there is a Harlem way about doing things and how we carry ourselves in every space. And we're okay. We're unapologetically us. And that's you got to own that. I can't be anywhere but, oh, child, you should be more. No, I'm going to be myself. And then being okay with that. I've had people call me, you know, oh, you're so aggressive and rah. You must be from Brooklyn. I'm like, what? Like, you know, you watch your TV shows, things like this. Like, you know, but being in a way where you can kind of like craft your spirit when you can look at someone who's like made it from where you from and still sound that way and ready to like, you know, Harlem Shake or any beat, you know, like, you know, you still us, like, you know, and that's the way I want to do anything. I don't care if it's wine, I don't care if it's engineering, whatever it is. And so that's what I connect with, is that idea of like, I don't have to like, oh, I'm in a suit today, so now I have to look and be this way. I want to be me. I want to be Harlem, wherever I'm at. So, you know, so that's where like my first thought goes to, is because of how he's able to elevate himself, his brand, and still been like, you know, genuinely him, you know, throughout generations now. Still dancing in the background in other people's videos. You know, that's who he is. So,
I think that's funny you said now through generation. And it's no shade to Puffy, because I went to Howard with Puff. So I still call him Puffy. I don't call him, I don't care how many times he changes his name. And I totally understand your flow on he is who he is whenever you meet him or you see him, he's going to do him. And it's, I'm always in awe of where he started to where he is now, because he is the poster child and Webster's for me for getting your hustle on and making it. Right. So that's my 2 cents, because I know how he did it.
See, look, you came for me, and now I don't pull you in. Look at you.
No, let's get real. You ain't pull me in. You ain't pull me in. I just laughed when you said you call him Diddy. I was like, really? Diddy? Okay, Puffy, yeah. And I wanted to hear where you were going to go with that, because I know Puffy from being at Howard and taking the train and walking the train and not sitting down without a ticket to go to do an intern with Andre Harrell, you know, so it's I know. And that's why I said, oh, really? It wasn't a negative thing. I just wanted to see where
and I think that our connection, like, you know, and I'm like speaking for like the people of Harlem. Like if anybody say Diddy, the idea is because we look at him like another cousin of ours. It's not, so we know what the struggle was for him to get there. We're from those same places, you know, and, you know, on that same come up, like, okay, the middle class Black people who like are trying to like make their way out of the hood, whether their parents did it for them, so they was able to elevate out earlier. We're still in that struggle right now, meaning people that's even my age, just trying to make their way out. You know, you see it's possible. And so, and you can still be you. You don't gotta start acting like nobody else. You don't gotta like, you know, oh no, I'm from Manhattan. You know, no, it's okay. You can be from Harlem and still be able to get into those rooms and be at the table or create your own things. So because
he'll quickly say money making Mount Vernon. And I was like, okay, laugh at you when talking to people from that style. So, but that's that's cool.
Awesome. All right, last question. And this is actually for you too, Tanisha. If you could have anybody from home send you something right now, what would it be?
Oh, I know what Tanisha gonna say.
What am I gonna say?
Popeyes.
You're
fried
close.
Chicken.
You're close. It's fried chicken, but from Harold's.
From Harris. Okay, you gonna do Harris? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna do Harold's. Mild salt and pepper. Yeah, mild.
Cha, what about you?
Funny because the first thing that I guess before we got on the call, Sarita knows that I just moved into a different apartment here in Portugal this weekend. And so I'm in like cleaning, unpacking mode in my apartment. And I was like, I got to make a list of the things I need from home. And I was like, first thing, Lysol spray. Like, why can I not find that in this country?
No, they don't have it. They don't have it, they don't have it on this continent, girl. Good luck.
I'm like, where's Lysol spray? How come I can't just
find? They don't really do aerosols here like that.
Yeah, I mean, like they do the you know, like air fresheners, but I'm trying to disinfect things. So I need like something serious, you know, so.
So you got to make it.
No, I'm going to bring it when I come back home. But so it's funny because I literally said in my head, if what I'm going to put on this list, the first thing, don't forget Lysol spray. So that is clearly not where you was going, but I just had to like share that with you. But I would say I had another moment because obviously it's summertime, block parties is happening. And I also seen a friend who was visiting her family, not in New York, but it did remind me of mine because in August this time is when we do our cookouts, and they would roll out, she must be from Maryland, they would roll out crabs. So there's crabs all over Portugal, but I'm talking about
blue crabs.
Blue crabs. I want them like blue crabs. I want them in all the Old Bay possible. It was to the point where she had a picture of like her and her family sitting at this long table, like little kids eating crabs, and then she had like posted on Instagram. It's funny, I'm just saying all this in detail. And I'm like, it was like an old lady trying to show a little kid how to open a crab. And she said, this is how the generation connects. Like, this is how you teach, like, start them young kind of thing. Like, and I was like, I remember that. Like, my father was like, I'm teaching you one time. Like, you ain't get another lesson. Like, this is it. Like, it's too much work. Like, once you, like, you on your own after that. Like, get what you get. And so, and of course, the people who know what they're doing, they coming for you. Like, oh, she don't know how to get open that piece. I'm waiting for her to leave that there.
Yeah, I'm
so
that person.
Next time I know how to get in the, so that moment of seeing her post that on Instagram from Crush Global, I was like, yo, this is what I missed from this summer. Is like just chilling out with my family and like just digging into crabs on top of newspaper and just all the Old Bay possible. So yeah, I don't want them sent to me, but if I can have any like, kind of magic, food moment from home right now, it would be, kind of just chilling with my mom and whoever, just sitting there going into some crabs, hard body. And my mother definitely wants a beer. Don't bring no wine to these with the crabs. And I'm like, okay, you'll get your beers. So that's that.
That is dope. That's a dope answer. I love it. So we're coming to a close. Please tell everybody where they can follow you and what you got going on, Cha.
So you can find everything Cha Squared related on my website, which is my name, Cha, CHA, McCoy, MCCOY.com. And you can follow me on Instagram at Cha_squared. That's SQUARED on Instagram. And the Cha Squared Project, or is there no the? On Facebook, so Cha Squared Project. What's going on? So we have the communion coming up in Brooklyn, September 29th. So anybody who's ready to come up to New York City, that's following, or people that's in New York City, please come out. There's still tickets left. And this one is going to be me breaking down natural, biodynamic, and sustainable wines. So it's going to be, that's the whole pairing. I'm not using any other wines. And it's going to be a 5-course meal, and that's going to be in Brooklyn. So if you're ready for this lesson in food pairing, and come out for that. What else is going on? I'm also, this is a Tanisha moment. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. I'm also doing an event with James Beard.
What?
On October 23rd. So if you're in New York, please come out and support. The tickets are on sale now, October 23rd, James Beard. I'm partnering with Co-Brands. They are my sponsor, so they're giving me all the wines I need, girlfriend, to do these pairings. Nice. James Beard is nonprofit, so they like, sis, you on your own. Like you've been asking for Barolos, like you on your own. So yeah, shout out to Co-Brand for sponsoring all the wines I need for the pairing. And what else is happening in the States? Those are 2 major events. So they're like, oh, now you're in Portugal. How can we get you? I'm like, this is where I'm definitely going to be in the States. So please come out to that. And if you are international and you're somewhere in the world, I'm doing an event in October in London as well. So please come to the communion in London. I'm working with Zoe from Zoe's Ghana Kitchen. So I'm doing because I know I don't want to call it Guyanese and people going to come for me. They like food from Ghana. I'm doing a food pairing with her recipes, and she has a great story as well, and she has a TED Talk. So if you don't know Zoe, please look her up. So I'm excited to be working with her for the community in October in London. So that's on the radar right now. And please come to Portugal. Let me host you for a tasting. Let's like chill out with some vineyards together or something,
On my way.
Yo, Cha, thank you so much for joining us. This was fantastic.
Thanks
for having me, ladies.
Yeah. Leslie and Tanisha, y'all got anything going on? Any announcements you want to make before we go?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
So we are going back to our roots. We haven't done wine tastings in a while, and we partnered up with the Coffee Theory in Mount Vernon, Baltimore, in the Mount Vernon area. And so we will be doing happy hours on Friday evenings and wine tastings on Saturday. So check out vino301.com for upcoming wine tastings. So we are very excited about that.
That's awesome. Tanisha, what about you?
No, nothing like.
Oh, just hanging around Champagne, like I usually do.
That's kind of it, and that's why I didn't want to say it, because I don't like the yeah. But no, just a busy September with tours in the city and then day trip to Champagne. That's
I love
kind
it.
of the major things. Yeah.
We about to make this. Can we do? What's the how do we get the Swirl Suite? I already asked Tanisha, and so now that I got y'all like myself. How do we get y'all here to Europe? How do we make this a girls trip? How do we make this happen?
I think we just make it happen.
Okay.
Make it happen.
I think I'm like the queen of start small. So my mind is like, don't invite your cousins and your sisters. Bring the suite. And like have it in Paris, and I'm gonna come be the guest, what's it, the Real and all those other crazy stuff. Like, is that Cha again? Is she part of the suite now, or is she a guest again? Like I'm like, mind your business. I'll be the one that's popping in. Like, Serena couldn't make it, so we have Cha McCoy again. I'm back. Yes. Leslie dropped out midway, so Cha came in to finish.
She is going to be the Eve of the Swirl Suite.
Oh, exactly. Yes, exactly. She's Cha, can you be our I'm like, that's me. So I'm the substitute teacher. Okay, make it official. Karina, Tanisha, Leslie, can y'all make this official? I'm gonna be like, God, like we need that energy. There's only two of us. We need a third person at least. I just want to make it official, okay?
Like you have time to put anything else on your plate.
What? That would be the highlight of the rest of the year. They're like, you know what? We're just going to add you in whenever. I'm fine. As you can see, I'm good at 1 a.m. Portugal time.
So when we call, don't be like, well, you need to talk to my assistant.
Shade. No. You're not gonna get that from me. But I'm serious. I'm down for that. I'm down for that. I said it I said it on the air. Like
you sure did.
Yeah.
We might edit this part out though.
Okay. She out here making promises she can't keep. Let's edit that out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, but thanks, ladies. And seriously, if y'all plan on coming to Portugal and I can be your host, I would love to put something together for you guys. And I know Tanisha's been trying to get y'all first, so if I got to be second, I'm okay with that. All right, ladies, have a good night.
Yeah, have a
good night. Good morning, whatever.
Well, that's our show, guys. Thank you for joining the Swirl Suite. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Cha. Don't forget to follow her and all of her events in New York and in Portugal and in London. Don't forget to follow all of us individually. Myself at Vine Me Up, Girl Meets Glass, Vino Noir, Vino 301. Cheers, everybody. If you or your business would like to be sponsored in a Swirl Suite sponsor spot, please contact us at swirlsuite@gmail.com.